So how many of you know what environmental sustainability is? Okay. How many of you know what the game called Minecraft is? Considerable amount. Okay. What I'm going to be talking about is a model of a sustainable community, and I used the game Minecraft to create this model. Now, what drew me to sustainability specifically was my environmental science teacher, Dr. E, who's conveniently in the audience today. So in this model, you're going to see slides that are screenshots from the game, and I'm going to explain basically what's going on. So let's get started. So when we talk about a sustainable community, what makes a sustainable community sustainable architecturally? What you're seeing here is a high-rise. Now, the concept of sustainability, when you talk about architecture, entails that you're building up instead of out. And the reason this is simply because you use less land, leaving less of a carbon footprint. These apartment complexes would have, obviously, a lobby, an elevator, shops, and here is a grocery store. The reason why we would have everything in the same building is obviously, like I said before, because we're reducing the space necessary for building and leaving more space for agriculture and also leaving less of a carbon footprint again. So in this picture, there's some aisles, there's a produce section, and towards the left there's some cashiers. And basically, that's what a market would look like. Obviously, you'd have green produce. It could be organic or non-organic, depending on the inhabitants. So when we talk about apartments, now these apartments wouldn't be very small. People are kind of obstinate towards moving into apartments because they have the misconception that they're always small. However, these apartments would be 2 to 3 bedrooms large and upwards of 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. This is an example of a kitchen. As you can see, the style that I'm taking on is more of a contemporary architectural style. There's 2 refrigerators, a stovetop, a wine cellar kind of thing, and a countertop, and hardwood floors. This is a dining area. Again, very simple hardwood floors. And this is a living room. There's a couch, a TV, a window again, and the hardwood floor is still there. This is an office space. You could sub it out for a bedroom if you wanted. There's a computer over there. There's a desk, cabinet, picture, hardwood floors. This is a bedroom. It's very spacious. You could combine multiple beds in one bedroom if you had a lot of people living in one apartment. There's a clock, nice view outside. I think that's a sheep outside. This is a bathroom, a walk-in shower, a toilet, sink, some cabinets. Now, when we talk about sustainability, what forms of energy would we be using? In my model, I'm going to be describing 3 types of energy: solar power, geothermal energy power, and hydroelectric. Solar power is illustrated here. This is the top of the apartment complex, in which we have an array of solar panels that are taking in energy from the sun and converting them to electricity. Solar panels would also reduce the heat that's going into the building, making it cooler inside the building. And another advantage to using architecture in this way, which is building up, is that we're going to be using less energy to heat and cool the building because it's so compact. Now, this is a model of a geothermal energy source. So basically, if you just looked at a geothermal energy plant, you would only see a power source generator. And so I basically did a cutout of the Earth and depicted what it would look like from a distance. Basically, we would dig a hole 7,000 feet into the ground towards the Earth's core. At the Earth's core, we would put water in this hole. The water would heat up from the heat coming from the Earth's core. Eventually, this water would reach 100 degrees Celsius and turn into steam and go up another tube and hit a turbine and convert into electricity. This water would be cooled and would eventually move back down into the pool, and the process would be repeated. So hydroelectric power is using a dam and a turbine to your advantage to generate electricity. In this picture, I'm showing a reservoir, and it's raining because I'm showing that the water cycle powers this process. So this is the reservoir. It rains, the reservoir fills up, and the water goes down through the dam, through a series of turbines, and can either be pumped back into the reservoir or can be used for other sources like irrigation, which in my case, we're going to use this water for irrigation. Now that's the outside of the dam. Usually, it depends on the geographic location of the city, but if it was, for instance, the reservoir located in the mountains, like Norway, we would use fjords and a large flow of water to generate electricity. Now, when we talk about agriculture, we would use large field systems like this one to have many crops growing and yielding lots of crops at the same time. In this picture, I'm showing that there's 3 types of crops growing, and there's lots of them. That's wheat, towards the far right. The middle one is potatoes, and the far left is carrots. And these are all included in the game. Livestock, of course, will be used. Depending on the inhabitants' needs, a sustainable amount of livestock would be used. On the far left, there's pigs, there's sheep, chicken, and cattle. Now, when we talk about transportation, this is what you would know as your traditional paved road. However, cars are not sustainable. Cars use fossil fuels for the most part and leave more of a carbon footprint than that which can be sustainable. So in place of cars, we would be using electric transportation in the form of tramways or metros, as well as bicycles. Here you see 2 tramways, and obviously they would look a lot different in the game. This is what's called a minecart. However, it's a good depiction of what it would be like. Along these transportations, there would be solar panels that would, collect energy from the sun utilizing the space open space for whatever power that could be generated. Now, when we talk about waste, how do we make waste sustainable? Now, most of you are connected to a sewer or you use a septic tank, but for the most part, in cities, we use sewer systems. Sewer systems are less sustainable because they require more space to utilize for building, and they outsource waste, and they take in a lot of water. Now, this is what you would call a decentralized wastewater system. You have what you would know as a septic tank. On the left, which is illustrated by the brown, it is called your black water tank, which is where your waste would go, human feces and that sort. On the right, you have a surface water tank. That's where surface water is basically when you turn on a faucet, you have surface water going. When you take a shower, that's surface water. When you use a washing machine, that's surface water. Surface water would go into a surface water tank. And some of the water, even from the black water tank, would be filtered back into surface water and would go into the surface water tank. Now, the water here in the surface water tank would be reused for irrigation. So that's how we make waste sustainable. What's next? The reason being that I created this model is because we don't have many models that we can use to illustrate environmental sustainability at the community level, let alone the global level. So what can we do? Obviously, most of you don't like playing computer games because you're older. However, for those like me and those younger than me, we can play these games with the knowledge that we have regarding sustainability and create models like this. Because the models that do exist, they don't accomplish what models like this accomplish, where they only show certain aspects, as well as they're not interactive. For instance, you'll get a slideshow, and you'll only see cartoon pictures. You won't see 3D images like this one. And as well as after the slideshow, you can't go into the game and explore it for yourself. You can only look at the slideshow. So for most of us, sustainability is an ideal. However, as we move into sustainable communities in the next 50 years, we're going to need to know what makes a community sustainable. And to know this, we need to use models like this. Thank you.